what do you expect to get out of a guy like Greg Newsome?
Yeah, just excited about Greg. I think he's got a multiple skill set, has done a good job. Watching him in crossover tape has done a good job over the years watching him. I think he's got really good man-to-man skills. I think he's done a good job in zone, competitive at the point of attack. So really excited about him. I think he'll add a bunch to us.
How much do you think his versatility helps out the defense, just being able to play inside, outside?
Yeah, we always value that here, guys that are versatile. He can definitely do that. And like I said, just watching him in zone, watching him in man, he's just competitive and has played well against some of the best players in this league. So that's what excites us about him.
How quickly do you think you can get him up to speed?
I'm going to find out pretty quick here, so I'll probably have a better answer in a few days. But, yeah, we're going to try and get him going as fast as we can and, see how all that goes.
Who will run point on that today when he gets into town? Will it be a committee of coaches?
I think everybody, yeah. I think all of us, I think certainly our defensive back coaches, we'll be right to work on that. I will as well. So just, we'll get right to work. We're trying to get them up to speed.
I've talked to a couple of guys who come in late on offense and say it's helped them having to just learn the game plan.
Sure.
Instead of the whole thing. Is that how you'll approach it with Greg?
Yeah, I think he's a very bright guy, just from talking to him and talking to other people who've been around him. And I think he'll be quick on the uptake. But, yeah, just getting him ready for the game plan, that's priority number one right now.
How tough of a test is Smith-Njigba to slow down?
Yeah, I think he's as good as anybody we've played. At that position, they've really utilized his skill set really, really well there. They've done a great job of getting him the ball, even in the key situations, scheming it up and getting him the ball on third down and get back on track. So he is definitely a challenge, really good player, I think, from top to bottom, and a physical guy at the point of attack as well.
Last week, after the game, Pat Mahomes said you guys fooled him on that Devin Wood pick six. I mean, that's about as high of a compliment you can get from a guy like Mahomes, right?
Yeah, I thought Devin just did an unbelievable job on that play, selling it and, popping out late and getting his eyes right back to the QB. Really did a good job of everything that Tim has been coaching him on that particular call. Good job of doing all that stuff. And he's really just been, in all those key situations, has done a great job with his eyes, being aggressive at the point of attack when the ball's in the air. So credit to him and credit to the guys executing it and just playing all the way through all the way through that situation, up to the last yard, up to the last blade of grass.
Kind of across the board, it seems like the guys think there's a higher standard to be met than Monday night. Is that kind of mindset that you want to see from the defense?
100%. I'm of the same mindset. I think there's a lot that we can do better. I think we've played better than we did, and credit to the Chiefs. They did a great job as well. But we have a high standard for our play style and our level of execution, and I think that could have been better the other night. And, I'm pointing the thumb on that, not the finger. I think I got to do a better job overall, and we're fired up about getting another opportunity to play a great team this Sunday. So excited for it.
What have you seen from Mason, kind of his trajectory the last few weeks?
Yeah, I think Mason has improved pretty much every week. I know he created some pressures the other night. Was really right there in on one, I think, in the fourth quarter. And just, we were close to getting the guy on the ground. Certainly a tough guy to finish on. But he's done a good job. I think his trajectory has been pretty good to this point. We've seen an uptick in production for him. And, again, like everybody else, he's still got a long way to go, and he's working his ass off to get that done. But pleased with his effort to this point for sure.
Do you talk to Grant this week at all about Darnold?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we're just so busy, on our end, kind of studying them, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to catch up on a bunch of things like we usually do at the end of the week together. But there is always some of that, when you know the opponent a little bit for sure. Yeah.
What did you see Travis this week on film?
Yeah, I just thought he competed really, really hard, and I thought on both sides of the ball, I think it was a tremendous effort. Gave us some great snaps on defense, and then obviously making some huge plays on offense. And I think that's what we've envisioned for him. I know we've talked about that in here in some of these media sessions the last few weeks where, hey, where do you see his trajectory? I think he's right on course, playing more and more. And like I said, each game's different, but it's all getting progressively better. So we're super excited about him, and I think everybody can see that, his production.
Since Buster came back from the injury, have you seen positive steps from him?
Yeah, absolutely. I said earlier in one of these media sessions where we had a really good feeling about Buster after the spring. You know, he had a great spring for us. Unfortunately, got hurt the first day of summer camp, so that obviously slowed his process. But he's really kind of hit the ground running since he's got back, and really made a nice play on the ball, playing back in the invert half the other night. Made a heck of a play. But just overall, he's a really good player for us, a guy I love coaching, and he's doing a good job for us.
So you feel pretty good if he needs to step up this week because Newsome's not maybe up to speed.
Yeah, I always feel good when Buster's in there, to be honest with you. You know, definitely believe in him and love his work ethic. And, you know, he's a guy I love to coach, so I don't think that's a secret because he's got a great play style, in my opinion, and he works his tail off every day.
How unique is Walker in his running style, and how you have to kind of coach and defend him?
Yeah, this guy is an elite back, like elite. In my opinion, he does an unbelievable job of cutting really late. He cuts in the heels of the blockers, you know, whether that could be even on the perimeter, but certainly into the heels of the offensive line. He does a great job of getting straight into the heels and then bending back out of there late. So if you don't play with great gap integrity and you don't play with great eyes, he's going to crease you. And he's pretty much done that to everybody this year. He's got an innate ability to kind of dip and slip and get the ball outside, but really an explosive one-cut guy for sure. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for his game.
Third down, the numbers aren't great, 30th. Where have you sort of pinpointed, okay, what needs to get locked in to get off the field?
Yeah, I think the other night we had a bunch of 3rd and 2s and you know, really didn't get in some of the third down situations we would have liked to get in, but a couple of those that we won and I think 3 of those that we lost. So, yeah, overall, every week you're evaluating that, and that's something where we've got to improve as a defense. And that's going to come down to the details, right? That's maybe sounds like cliche, but when you go back and you look at it, there's some detailed things that we got to clean up to be better, and we got to be better in that situation, in my opinion.
Sam Darnold's probably coming off of one of his best games in his career right now. What are you seeing out of him as he develops in Seattle?
Which guy were you saying? I'm sorry.
Sam Darnold.
Oh, yeah. You know, we played him twice last year when I was in Green Bay. I have a lot of respect for him as well. I think he's a really good player. I think he's made some great decisions. And he's had a ton of production even last year and obviously this year as well. He was, like you said, had a lights-out game last week. I think he's very elusive in the pocket, to be honest with you. He keeps plays alive with his feet. And you got to do a good job of plastering down the field when he does get to that part of his game, you know, keeping plays extended. But I think he's made some really, really good decisions. You watch him, he just seems very, very comfortable. And, you know, he's a challenge to play against and coach against for sure.
Going back to Greg for a second, just this defense has built itself as an aggressive defense, but also a very communicative one.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say Greg fits in terms of his, I know you haven't met him yet, but just his style, play, his personality, things like that?
I think his play style, when you watch him, and like I said, I watched him primarily in crossover tape and then, you know, getting the opportunity to watch him again. It really fits because, to me, he's aggressive at the point of attack. You know, when you watch him play man-to-man, I think he's really, really sticky in coverage, competes at the catch point. And then in zone coverage, you know, he's a savvy player. So I think obviously what we look at and we're excited about, I think he's got really good ball skills, ability to break and drive on the ball. And anytime, you know, you're getting a smart, aggressive player, we're fired up about it.
Thanks. Tell us about Sam Darnold a little bit. You spent time with him last year, obviously.
Yeah, Sam, the success he's had this year, last year, doesn't come to a surprise to me at least. When you see the way he works, his diligence, his approach, his process, he's earned all the success he's had. People talk about the tremendous story with the adversity he's overcome, a bunch of different situations, maybe less than desirable situations, but he's earned it to follow and stick through all of that stuff, ups and downs, and to keep working the way he's worked and the humility he approaches it with is awesome to see a guy like that have that type of success.
I just counted your 3 tight ends, Morris Munt, long 194 games and 17 NFL years combined. So do you feel pretty good about recreating Brenton in the aggregate, or what these 3 guys are going to do for you until Brenton gets back?
I don't know that we're necessarily trying to replace Brenton, because he is a guy who has unique talents and poses unique challenges to defense. He's got skills in the run game, pass game, screen game. I know Trevor talked about it, how he adds a lot to our offense, even stuff that might not be seen on the stat page. But I do think what you're trying to do is take advantage of those guys' skills and what they can provide to the offense. And I think that's a wide variety of things. Johnny Munt, Hunter Long, Morris, all of those guys can be valuable in the run game, pass game, line up in different positions, in the backfield, out wide, at the tight end spot, on and off the ball, doing a bunch of different things. So their skills and those guys just being themselves will be more than enough if we go out there and execute and use them properly.
Grant, going through your mind when Trevor hit the deck on the winning play?
I think the first thing going through my mind was just protect the ball, and you probably instantly start thinking about, all right, what's the next play to get back on the ball, the situation, clock's running, what yard line you're on, what hash you're on, what defense are they in, what personnel are we in. So you're almost trying to move on to the next thing, and then when he pops up and the play keeps going, you're thinking protect the ball, you don't want to make a bad situation worse, and then all of a sudden you see him cross the goal line and everyone's celebrating. So it was definitely a favorable turn of events and a pleasant surprise in that regard, but probably started thinking a little bit too early about what next.
John Monheim, he was called into duty late in that game. How do you think he did? And I mean, what's the confidence level if you need to lean on him moving forward?
I think his composure was phenomenal for those guys to not feel really any difference in the terms of the communication, the operation. It's a testament to his work ethic and his preparation and how diligent he is. Hasn't gotten a ton of reps and really is the one position where we didn't have a lot of rotation. We've talked about the rotation that we had in training camp and the offseason, playing guys at guard, playing guys at tackle, switching guys sides from left to right, right to left. Center was kind of the one position where we did not do a lot of that, but he was able to go in there and mesh with those guys, because it's not just the center to quarterback, it's also the center to guard, center communicating out to the tackle, center communicating out to the tight ends at times. And he was able to go in there in that situation, in that environment with the game on the line, and really leave the full playbook open to us. Is awesome to have that type of flexibility from not only a rookie, but just a backup center in general.
Hey, Grant, Chuma said it's time to consider throwing him a pass when he's in there. But seriously, when you put him or Cole in there a couple times, what do you like about that jumbo package?
Well, the value that he brings, even when he goes in at tackle, is the same value that he brings at tight end. He's a guy that can match up in one-on-one blocks, but he can also work in combination with offensive guards, offensive tackles, because he's used to doing all that work. Both guys really are used to taking reps on all 5 positions, or 4 for Chuma and 5 for Cole across the offensive line. So they're used to working with the tackles. They're used to working with when they're at guard. They're used to working with the tight ends when they're at tackle. So they're very familiar with those combinations and those blocks and those protections and how things kind of play out from a technical perspective. So it's great to take a guy with those skill sets who might be bigger and have a little bit more time on task from a run game or pass protection standpoint than a tight end, just by nature of the constraints of their time, and be able to plug him in there and not feel totally foreign at that tight end spot. So that's the nice thing about Cole and Chuma, because they have that chemistry across the entire offensive line.
Talk to us about Laquon Allen. Down the stretch, he made some big blocks. Talk with us a little bit about you guys trusting him to go out there and do that as a rookie. That's huge, right?
Absolutely. And he's another guy, we talked about Jonah, he's another guy where it's a testament to his work ethic and his approach throughout the week. The amount of time that he and really all of the backs put in to knowing the game plan, knowing the opponent, mastering their role and responsibility is phenomenal to see. They put in a bunch of extra work, whether it's walkthroughs, studying film, doing extra learning tools with Coach Morton, who does a great job of getting those guys ready and going above and beyond to make sure they know every look, every assignment, every call like the back of their hand. That stuff is really impressive. And like we talked about Diami last week, it's infectious for the whole room. When guys, whether it's the running back room, offensive line, quarterback, see a player, rookie or not, out there working the way he works on a Wednesday, working the way he works on a Thursday, and then going out there on Sunday and flying around to the ball, it is contagious for everybody, and it changes the way guys play. It changes the way the identity of the offense. I think the play that stands out to me really is in San Fran, the fumble for Travis. And there's a couple plays in that game, earlier in that game, where Laquon Allen is flying to the ball after a ball is thrown. Now, nothing comes of it because it's either an incomplete pass or he doesn't get to the block in time because the guy gets tackled. But he has that commitment to the process of doing it every single time. And then when the ball's on the ground, who's in the right spot to go pick it up? It's Laquon Allen. So that type of stuff, I mean, it borderline makes me tear up looking at that stuff to see him get that ball there and put us in good position to score. I won't get emotional up here doing it, but that's really, really special.
Ezra with that physical block on Trevor's touchdown, is that just the kind of player that you guys have known him to be as since you got here?
I think so, and I think the whole offense has tried to embrace that identity. Like Laquon and his attitude and effort being contagious, really the offensive line, the wideouts, the tight ends, all kind of buying in on that toughness and attacking mindset, whether it's blocks, transitioning the block in the pass game, or whether it's just coming off the ball. I think the entire group has done a good job of continuing to progress and embrace that identity as an offense.
How tough were some of those throws that Trevor made down the stretch in that Monday night?
Those are certainly big-time throws. I think Coach talked about in those situations, fourth quarter, game on the line, third downs, fourth downs. Those are the moments that guys are often judged at their ability. They're judged upon those situations. So to be able to stand in there and make those throws when he had been running around doing a bunch of different things earlier in the night and make those throws is awesome to see his composure, to be able to stand in there, make those reads, hit those guys on time, in rhythm, proper footwork, proper reads, all that stuff. Like the rest of the guys, it's the work that he does on Wednesday, Thursday, all offseason that builds to that where in that crunch time he can fall back on that training that lets him go out there and make those.
What makes Leonard Williams a unique player?
Well, certainly the talent and the toughness and the strength, size, speed, all of that pops out on tape. Very, very, very difficult to match up with. One-on-one, I mean, even two-on-one double teams, his block recognition, run game, pass game, he poses issues. And he's another guy, like we talked about last week, who can line up inside, lines up a little bit wider, lines up a little bit tighter. So a number of different techniques, so you can really have all 5 of your offensive linemen could end up matched on him within one game.
What has made the Seahawks front kind of so difficult to run the ball against?
They do a phenomenal job top to bottom. They're a deep group, but they play hard. They come off the ball. They do a great job with their hands. Like Leonard, their block recognition is phenomenal. Really well coordinated in the run game with their fits and the rush. So they really do a great job collectively as the front, the guys on the line, as well as the linebacking unit. You know, you can tell they're coached tough, play hard, and they're disciplined. That's a really tough combination to beat.
That Seattle's defense just played the Bucs. That has a little bit of a taste of Cohen still left in it. Does that make game planning this week a little bit more difficult for you guys?
I don't know that it makes it more difficult. It's a little similar to when we talked about Carolina, and he had played against Carolina in the previous year. You're using all the information available, so there are similar presentations that they have to things that we do or things we have done. So you try to take nuggets from that, and it might help in some instances where you get a little bit of information on how defenses play things similar to how we do things. It may hurt a little bit because they've done something that we wanted to do or we haven't done, or they do something differently, or you realize something didn't work. But every week there's typically going to be one opponent or somebody that does something similar to what we do or lines up in similar ways or similar motions that we're trying to get information from in some form or fashion.